Right.
But Smash Coast is doing their thing, to say the least, man. So tell the people about yourself. How'd you get started in this whole licensing thing, and how did you kind of transition like that for other composers and artists?
Well, my story is kind of crazy, man. I moved out here to LA in '03 from Arizona.
Okay.
Actually from here, but I moved to Arizona when I was 15 and went to high school and all that out there. So I moved back out here in '03 with aspirations of getting in the music industry. Like a lot of producers, I wanted to make hit records, for recording artists. So that was my thing. So about a year after I got here, I got introduced to a guy whose main thing was music licensing, right?
Mm.
And so he was more the business side, and I was the musical horsepower, if you will. And so we kind of got started. I was lucky because he already had a few relationships at like Boone and Murray and a couple of production companies here in LA. So as far as starting, it wasn't really a problem. Like he had those relationships built. And so the first piece of music the first show that I ever placed music on was Real World. And Real World was dope because Real World was actually one of the first, if not the first, reality show or television show they really wanted the same type of sound as what their viewers were listening to. They wanted that top 40 radio sound. So they were the first ones to really start outsourcing away from the in-house composers to look for guys like us out in the streets that were making beats that could source to their show. So, those were the good old days because you could send in a ton of music, no sting outs, halfway formatted, and they were just scooping them up because they didn't have it yet.
Wow.
So let me condense this. I know we don't have that much time. So, okay, so a little while goes by. I don't want to mention my ex-partner's name because there's some things going on there.
Okay.
But long story short, our partnership split. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and so then I was working by myself a little bit. So I was a solo producer then. The reason why I go by FM is because my producer name was Fingers McGee. I'm a keyboard player,
Hmm.
and FM Fingers McGee. So crazy enough, a few months into me working by myself, I contracted an autoimmune disorder.
Mm.
Right? Yeah, and the first thing that it attacked was my hands. I had this thing called
Wow.
peripheral neuropathy. Like literally, man, I was making or I was doing like a 15 beat order for Bunham Murray one day evening, and my fingers started tingling. And I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, I had no use of my hands at all. It was so excruciating. It felt like frostbite.
Wow.
Um, and come to find out, that's what I had. But I was already, waist deep with these music supervisors and I was sending music in. And so for a split second, I thought, oh, damn, my situation's over with. I don't know what's wrong with me yet. But I don't know if you remember MySpace back in the day. I was on
I do.
MySpace. And so instead of throw the towel in, I just went on MySpace, man. And I hit up some guys on there that I knew were doing beats. And I was like, hey, if you guys can send me some beats, I can get them on TV
Hmm.
and we can just split the money. And they did it, and it ended up working out so well that after another couple years of doing that, I went ahead and LLC'd Smash Coast in 2009,
Okay.
and went ahead and made it a company. It's crazy because the producer whisperer and is basically a champion for the creatives, music producers especially.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of how I roll because these music producers from MySpace allowed me to stay in the game, man. They were
Wow.
consistent with sending me music and allowed me to keep these relationships with these music supervisors and sending them music, and more importantly, allowed me the time to go on my medical journey and all these doctors and tests and trying to find out what was wrong with me at the time. But while I was going through that, these guys were sending me music and they were being diligent,
Hmm.
and they saved my ass.
Yeah.
So once I started feeling better, I kind of had a choice to go back to, well, do I want to be a music producer and give up, working with all these guys? Because it is a lot of responsibility when you have a team of guys and, they're dependent on you, this and
Yeah.
that. But because of their loyalty to the game and to me, like there was no way I could, go back to just being a solo producer. So that's where we are now. Now
Wow.
our whole move is, champion for the indie artists.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy,
that's kind of
man.
how it got started, kind of by accident, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of how.
To do even bigger things, because as a single producer, you can only take advantage of so many opportunities, right? You can only make so much music, but being in that position, it kind of forced you to kind of go and outsource some of this work to other talented producers and give them an opportunity. And
Exactly.
and now you're at where you're at now. So that's inspiring, man.
When I
Um
moved out here, I didn't have an entrepreneurial mindset at all. I was
mm,
just a music producer trying to get on with a label, trying to get up under Dre, try
yep.
to, get somewhere. But yeah, you know, this process taught me a lot. Now I'm a business owner, and I don't think it would have ever happened this way if it wasn't for those circumstances. So yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I love that too. Just having an entrepreneurial mindset as a producer, I think is super important, especially like 2021, man. Like the days of just having this one track mind of, like you said, trying to get signed to a major producer or label is like it's long gone, man. Like you have to figure out
right.
creative ways to pave your own way, man, to success, whatever that looks like for you. Shout out to the people coming in, man. As you guys are coming in, let us know where you're from. Drop your questions in the chat. We're gonna answer them live and get through as many as we can. Appreciate you, Deverick, for coming through. Lorenzo, what's good? Appreciate that, Reese. Hope it helps, man. Yay, ye checking in. So that's what's up, man. Man, so you've kind of been on, I guess, both sides as far as creating the music and then working with people who are creating the music for you. What do you think, I guess, what sets a producer apart who's successful in sync versus just a regular producer who can make beats and may be talented at making beats, but um can't necessarily land those placements? Like what are some of the things that really stand out to you when you're looking for music and for composers?
Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Follow up is very important, man. Uh, I run into a lot of guys that are talented producers,
Mm-hmm.
but they might lack in other areas. Like, say, for instance, I'll get emails, and the emails will say like, "What up, bro?"
Oh
And
man.
that's how they'll open the email to me.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I used to let that slide because I used to think, okay, well, I'm a producer, they're a producer, they're just trying to talk to me on that, that type of level, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different because, if it's a casual conversation, then you're going to get casual results. But if you're talking to somebody that you're hoping is going to somehow pay you something,
Right.
you know, contract you for something, then you have to keep it on, like, you don't know who you're talking to. So you have to keep it on a professional level. And I see that a lot of, producers just don't have that. It's especially urban producers. It's a street game, so they have the street dialect. They have, and they're not necessarily versed in creating emails or opening emails, statements and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the thing is, it's crazy to me though, is that these are all things that can be learned. I
Right.
YouTube everything,
Facts.
everything, like everything that I know how to do now, pretty much no one taught me how to do it. I YouTubed everything,
Yep.
and so there's tons of people like yourself out there that are, providing this information. So another thing that is necessary with these producers is just hustle. Just how bad do you want it? What do you do when you get up in the morning? Like, what's your mindset? What are you thinking about? Um, the guys that really, really want it will show you that they want it by
Right.
what they do rather than sending you like, 3 paragraph. I got the longest email I think I've ever gotten a few days ago by this dude. And he was explaining to me that he was with BMI and when he got signed and he had his IPI number. And this is the first email. And it was like 3 long paragraphs long with a link at the bottom. And I did click the link and the music was just god awful,
Oh
you
man.
know. So there's a thing that there's a thing with producers where they might lean too heavily on the creative side and just worry about the beats being dope,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they're hearing from their peers, if it's dope or not or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, these music supervisors and these companies, they don't have the same type of ears that we do because they're not creatives a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. And B, they're not going to be able to judge the music the way we do as far as if it's dope or not. A lot of times they're not even looking for that. They're looking for a reliable source of adequate music.
Yeah.
Of course, they want it to be the best music possible and the hottest music and all that. But more importantly, they just want somebody that they can depend on that's going to show up to work every day and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And so this is the mindset of a producer that makes it versus one that is just, talented. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you're doing music because you love the music, so love to do it. Because so most producers, when they hop on their equipment, it's not work to them. But as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you start trying to make money with it, it's work.
Yep.
And so that's what shies a lot of people away is when they start having to actually work and organize and stay consistent with their postings and so on and so forth. It's just hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. I agree, man. I think I'm sure you probably seen the post that my guy DIY Music Biz posted on Instagram about the email that he got.
Hilarious. That was hilarious, but
Yo,
so
like,
on point.
yeah, it's just not knowing how to interact on a professional level, and not realizing like a lot of these companies, man, like even the music industry. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day. We was just like, yo, the music industry is way more corporate than people think,
Oh
and
yeah.
you have to approach it that way, like depending on what job you have, you wouldn't approach management a certain way, or the owner of that company a certain way. So you kind of have to approach things the same way in music. Even though it's creative, it's a business side to things, and there's a way to approach people, especially if you're trying to get help from them. Like that
Right.
that was crazy, but yeah, man, that's super dope. Let me see. Kimmy Music from Smash Coast in the house. That's what's up. Shout out to some Smash Coast creatives coming in.
What's
Um,
up, Kim? That's my partner.
dope, dope. Um, yeah, consistency with uploads, man. That's one thing I see a lot of people struggle with as well. Like they wonder why they're not getting placements, why they don't have placements, and then I ask them, okay, how many companies did you reach out to? And this is like two companies, and this is like, well, how many tracks did you send? Well, I sent like one track. I'm just waiting to see if they place it, and then this whole time they're waiting for something to happen with that one track from those two submissions, and like if say it does get placed eventually, you wasted all that time waiting for it to get placed, which probably won't happen for like another year or so, or even longer sometimes. And
If
now,
it happens.
yeah, if it happens at all, but it's like it's a numbers game. You want to get as much quality music out there, so you have more chances, and that affects your placements, and your royalties ultimately too. Um,
If you want these companies and these music soups to treat you a certain way, then you have to teach them how to treat you. And you do this by your work ethic. They have to see you posting, they have to see you sending music in constantly, you know, and that's how you build a rapport with people a lot of the times. A lot of times they won't say anything to you, but they'll be watching.
publishers who, they didn't say anything right away, but after time, it's just like, yo, like I noticed you've been putting out a lot of information. It's super dope. Would love to hear some music. And you never know where the next opportunity can come from. And then that relationship ended up turning into composing music for like 3 series of Born This Way on A&E, just
Oh, wow.
showing up and just being consistent, and just delivering, man, on what they need when they need help, and just being of service. So that can definitely uh go a long way. So I guess since you transitioned from being like the solo producer to being this company, this library or whatever, do you still compose like from time to time, or is it more so like now just kind of running this company?
Well, yes, I compose. I have an artist I'm working with, Taquan Black,
Okay.
and we, create music for TV, film. That's kind of his lane, what he's trying to do.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's I never wanted to get to a point where the company took me away from being creative. I
Yeah.
started all this because I love to make music, And if it got to a point where I was just trying to make money and not make music, I wouldn't be happy anymore. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not trying to chase money. You know, I'm trying to be happy and get money.
Yeah,
You know, in the
exactly.
meantime. So
Exactly.
yeah, so no, I do make music. I got to stay on it, man.
It's dope.
And plus, making music keeps me sharp. You know, because genres are always coming, and you know, new stuff is coming. And so me staying in it keeps my judgment sharp for being able to pick music for these music supervisors and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. One question I get a lot, a lot of people, they want to go directly to the music soup. They want to think that's do you think that's an easy approach, or, is there should they focus on that first if they're just getting started, or should they, link up with a company like a Smash Coast Music to kind of get their feet in the door? Like what would you recommend as far as that?
I kind of feel like it depends on what kind of creative they are.
Hmm.
If there's somebody that creates a lot of content, say like a lot of beats,
Hmm.
they're in there like I used to do that. I make run off 10, 15, 20 beats in 24 hours like easy.
Yeah.
Um, just because that's how I worked. So someone like that might want to aim towards a library because a library is going to want a lot of music. They might even give you a little bit of money up front for the music. Maybe not, but they might give you do a little buyout situation. But
Hmm.
the thing is that's a better fit rather than say going to a music supervisor. I think it really just depends, man, because music soups are like I said, they're looking for that certain creative that they can build that relationship with, that rapport with.
Hmm.
Um, if I was advising a new producer on just how to get into the game, I'd say do it all. I'd
Yeah.
say if you have a bunch of beats, send some to the music soups. I mean, to the libraries. See if you can get some in there. You know, hit up the music supervisor. If you have songs or can work with artists, do that. Like this is a hustle game, so there's no one. It's like fighting somebody. You got to bite and use your feet and your
Yeah.
hands, and like it's like you got to
Use
do everything you
everything.
can to get in. And
Yeah.
then once you get in, you got to make sure that live up to what you said. You be that dependable person and do your follow ups.
Yeah.
If you are fortunate enough to get in contact with a company or a music soup, and you see that they're going back and forth with you, there's a dialogue. You always want to ask them what their follow up schedule is.
Mm.
Um, if you're sending them music and they're like, okay, send me a leak of your music or whatever. If you can slip it in there, ask them how often do you want them to send. Do they want you to send music? And then stay on that schedule. Everyone's going to be different. I
Mm.
got one that's like once a month, once every couple weeks or whatever. But if you do that and you don't bombard them, you don't bug them. If you send music in and say you don't, I sent music in 2 weeks ago. Has it placed it? You don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I hate that.
You just you just be cool, and you have a higher chance of things working out. But I don't think there's one way to do it. If you can hit a soup, hit a soup. If you can hit a library.
Yeah.
That's what I did, man. It was like, being here in LA, we were literally hopping in the car and pulling up on offices.
Man.
This was back in the day, like, security is a little tighter now, but say like with Boona Murray, we just went to Boona Murray. We're like, we
Yeah.
want to get some placements up there, and it was out here. We just drove up there, and it's like, yeah, are there music supervisors here to talk to?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's yeah. To answer your question, there's no one way.
Yeah.
I say do it all.
Yeah. That's dope. I agree, man, cuz it's like you never know. Cuz I mean, from my experience, like I've there's some supervisors who will hit back immediately, or a coordinator or somebody who will hit me back immediately. There's some where it may be not right now, and then just kind of go back and follow up. And then there was one situation where which actually goes back to another relationship that I kind of started working on a project on the label side of things, but um, that situation happened super quick. Like I hit the supervisor up with the link of music, and he hit me back like in the next 10 minutes and was just like, "Oh, this is perfect for some stuff I'm working on." And fast forward, a few months down the road, and it ended up turning into a Netflix placement on Napoli Ever After. So you never know,
Wow.
man. You just gotta, yeah, you gotta approach it from different angles, and be persistent. I love the gem you dropped on following up, but just like actually asking them, like, when, how often do you want to be followed up with? I've never thought to do that. Honestly, it was always just to, you know, kind of wait a while, and then, if I haven't heard anything, I may follow up with some more music or something. But yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Just asking people what works for them. I think that's a great nugget.
Th- that comes from working as a company because now I have multiple creatives trying to hit me, just like, those music supervisors and stuff. And we get so busy
Hmm.
that I have to, like, space people out and tell them, like, hit me every 2 weeks or hit me once a month or whatever, just so they're not just randomly hitting me, 10, 20, 30 people whenever they want to, because it gets chaotic.
Mm,
And a good way to operate, the way we operate, is to always assume that the company or the music soup or showrunner, whoever you're dealing with, is busy as hell. You
mm,
assume that they have a lot to do away from you that has nothing to do with you,
yeah.
and you try to make things as easy for them as possible. You make your music easy to get to them. You send a link. You don't send MP3s or files, nothing like that. You
Hmm.
make sure there's not a ton of music in the link. You don't want to send 50 songs. They're not going to listen to that.
Right.
You pick your best work, you abbreviate that link and make sure you put your best work in there, and then you do your follow-ups. Not too much. You don't bug people. You respect that they're in that position to help you,
Yeah.
that they're in. And and they'll see that. They'll see that you have etiquette, you know how to move around a little bit,
Yep.
and that it'll help.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know with the small team of composers that I work with, um, sometimes if I'm not sending a brief out, it can be overwhelming with somebody just hitting you with a bunch of tracks that you don't even have a need for right now. And it's like
Right,
I don't like
right.
to take it's something that's needed and can be used. So yeah, that's super dope. Lorenzo asked, how do we get placed with what are you guys' method as far as,
Well,
taking on.
I guess creative company, we're a collective of what I'd like to think is like some of the best indie artists and composers and producers around. And so we focus mainly on urban songs, indie artists, not so much instrumentals. If we pitch instrumentals, then they're going to be specialty instrumentals for like holiday or sports or something that fits into a niche. But just like basic background cues or whatever, we don't do that. If you have some hot indie artists that you're working with, or you're an indie artist and you produce and you're working with, you can feel free to submit at submissions@smashcodes.com. That's anybody on here. Like I say, we're very, very picky. It's not just about the music. If you don't have a great work ethic, if you don't have great follow up, and you're not constantly making music, I would advise you not to even submit, because it's going to be a waste of time. I hustled, I should say, Kim and I, we hustle like nobody. So all the people on our team kind of have to be that way. And so, yeah, if you want to submit, go ahead and submit. Curious to hear what you got.
Dope stuff. We got another one from West Cliff Productions.
That the company or the entity is busy and they're actually taking the time out to listen to your email. Um, so make it short. Like I said, if it was me, I wouldn't go, and this is a lot, but I wouldn't go more than seven pieces of music. Really, you can get the point across in less than that. Like me, if I'm listening to a playlist of music, I'm like, I can know within the first 10 seconds if your quality is there. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to listen to like three songs. And then I'm going to listen to elements in those songs or those instrumentals. Are they structured right? Do you have sting outs? Is there profanity? What's the subject matter? These types of things. It only takes me a moment, to get these. And so I'd say like 5 songs or so, 5 to 7 songs should be enough.
Dope.
Um, and be picky. Don't just grab stuff that you think is dope. Remember that you're pitching music to be placed in media. And so you have to be worried about how that music is used in media and what type of media. A music supervisor told me a long time ago that this is like when I first started. that you should do your due diligence before you hit a music supervisor or a company. Me, I'm different. I'm a company, so we don't create content. But these music soups that work directly on shows, you need to find out what shows they're working on, watch those shows. Another music soup back in the day told me that um, a good way to figure out how they're using the best way that they're using the music in the shows is to watch 10, 15 minutes of your favorite reality show with your eyes closed. You know,
Mm,
turn on Kardashians or whatever, and in between the commercial breaks, just close your eyes, listen to the dialogue. And it's weird because I had never done that. And the second I did that, it took probably like maybe 5 seconds for your ears to start tuning out the dialogue and tuning in the music.
yep.
And so it didn't take any time at all. Like now you're hearing the cues, you're hearing how they're using them, but more importantly, you're hearing what they're using. You know,
Yep.
are they using EDM? Are they using trap? Are they using this and that? So what I was doing is when I was hitting the music supervisors, I was already showing knowledge in the initial email. Hey, so and such, my name is such and such. You know, I see that you guys are using a great deal of, EDM in your shows, da 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 da. And then if I'm feeling very sociable, I might even be like, those are great cues you guys are using over there. I have blah, 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 blah. But I
Yeah.
keep it short and sweet, end it with a link at the end, but I let them know I'm paying attention. I'm not just like randomly sending them music. I'm just,
Right.
I see what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. And I can add to what you're doing. I can bring value to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when I get emails like that, I ought to know.
Yeah,
So
that's super important. Like knowing, like you said, doing your due diligence, knowing who you're submitting to, in hip hop. You know, just because you
right,
didn't take the few minutes to do some background work and it's worth it. Like just take the extra time. Like I see people just won't. They'll skip over whatever they want to skip over, and then I'm like, you didn't. I'm sorry, you didn't follow instructions. So I feel like that's a major thing is like you have to make sure you're sending what they want and how they want it. The file types, how they want stems. I know, like I'll double check to
right.
make everybody else's job easier. Let me see. I think I seen another question. Anderson Banks, what's up, Anderson? Says, how much attention did you pay to mixing your beats? Sometimes I feel as if I'm mixing for perfection, but I don't have the experience to know what a good mix is. That's a good question. Um,
You asking me that?
it,
Anthony,
I
your
guess,
mixes are better than mine. So I mean, I just kind of mix as I go along.
yeah.
But yeah, when things got more serious, or when I started dealing with artists, say like Taquan Black and doing songs, then I
Hmm.
would send my stuff to an engineer that's specialized in that.
Yeah.
Because that's the sound you want. I know, Clint, you went to school and took some engineering, and
Nah.
oh, you didn't? You didn't
Nah,
take
man.
engineering?
Not at all, dude. Like for mixing, nah. YouTube University, man. And then
Man,
a bunch of
for
trial and
real, because
error. I appreciate
yeah,
it, but
I'm still struggling.
I'm always learning, honestly. I mean, I'm at a point now where it's like I kind of know if it sounds good. Some mixes I'm still not. I'm like but I try not to get caught up on like super duper perfection and just get in that state of analysis paralysis where it's just like it's not ready, and then just miss out on opportunities. But what helped me a lot was comparing my mixes to things that's on the radio, right? So
Right, right.
if I play it side by side in iTunes or something like that, and I hear like my volume super duper low compared to this track that's already been mixed and mastered, then I need to bring my volume up, and I'm gonna try and make those adjustments. If I hear the low end isn't the same, compared to that industry track, then I'm gonna try and make adjustments there. And then from there, like if I hear the difference, then I'll start Googling like, okay, how do I balance 808s and kicks and things like that. So it's been a lot of years of just trial and error. People telling me, yo, this is too loud. Some licensing companies will hit me back and be like, yo, can you turn the 808s down a little bit? And I'm like, I like my 808s loud, but
Right.
and just kind of make adjustments there. But I my advice would be put it out, do the best that you can, and then put it out and get the feedback, because you won't know until somebody tells you, yo, like the mix needs work, because it may be fine, but you don't know because you're not putting it out there, you're not getting that feedback from people. And then if you need help from there, obviously I have a mixing course where I break down everything on video. But
I need to take that.
yeah, man, I tried to simplify it because mixing is complicated, as everybody knows, right? So over the years, I went from using a boatload of plugins on every track to now just using a couple or a few for all of my mixes, and just really simplified it in a way that's just easy to understand. It's straight to the point, and it's not eating up a bunch of CPU space either, but it creates a really nice solid mix. So yeah, man, I feel like that's definitely a struggle for a lot of producers, because I struggled with it for a while, but putting it out there and getting that feedback is going to be it's going to be crucial. Um,
Yeah, Anderson, to expand on that a little bit, like what he said, if you're comparing your mixes to already mixed and mastered stuff, that's what you need to do, and it's also going to keep you out of your head. If you're not doing that, like we tend to be very, very analytical, and that's what it seems like the issue is. You're mixing and thinking and mixing and thinking and mixing and thinking, and we're creators, man. We're never, ever, ever gonna be satisfied. You're gonna mix some stuff and think it's hot, and go to bed and wake up in the morning and think it's trash.
hmm.
So you gotta, like you said, kind of have a guideline to work from, to where okay, this sounds too hot, or too muddy, or whatever it is, and then just go from there. Don't overthink it.
Yep.
I was bad about that, man. I'd sit there for hours tweaking an 808, EQing something, and it sounded cool. And I didn't start really realizing it until other people were hearing my mixes. They go, "Oh, this sounds fine. This is banging."
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, "Oh, this is terrible. You
Yep.
can't hear that mud in there. You can't hear this frequency, boxy, and then they can't hear that. So
Yep.
don't overthink it.
Yeah. Especially until, like, once
That's
it's
it.
playing on a television anyway. Um, that's a good question from Westcliff. How do music supervisors look at sample-free loops being used in the songs or instrumentals? Does it matter if we're creative with
Give
the
me
sample?
just a second. My AirPod went off for a second.
Oh, okay, no problem.
You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Royalty-free loops, from your perspective.
Well, here's the thing about loops. Okay, so sampling is like totally in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to make sure that the companies that you're working with allow those, like they are royalty free. Some companies will have loops and packs that are royalty free with limitations. Um, I was reading the other day. I don't know if you guys use Omnisphere, the VST. A lot of us do.
Yeah.
Omnisphere doesn't like its sounds used for TV film. If you Yeah, it's crazy. Spectrasonics doesn't like you can't just take an Omnisphere sound and lay drums on it and play it. I don't know how they're policing that or whatever.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, it's weird. So what I do is creativity is the key. If you're gonna use loops and royalty free stuff or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
chop them to death. Like do it, manipulate them to a point to where they're almost unrecognizable, but still dope. Don't just take a loop from Splice and lay it in there at the same tempo and the same key or whatever, and then just throw trap drums on it and then send that to TV film.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other people are going to be using that same loop, and it's going to sound the same. Um, and B, there's just no creativity there. So I don't see any problem with using loops, but just make sure that the company that is providing the loops, like Splice doesn't care. Splice is like, you can use these, do whatever you want with them. But
Yeah.
my advice would be to chop them up and manipulate them in ways to make them unique and your own,
Yeah.
so they don't sound like everybody else's.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I seen a recent interview with and their agreement about that, and he came on and he clarified a lot of stuff, and I think they're changing some of the legal jargon in there to make it more clear, because I guess from what the owner said, they or the CEO, that they encourage creators to use the sounds in Spectrasonics just as you know, composing and making new productions, not just like, you know, taking the sound and like reselling the sounds, or just repackaging just the sounds and the samples from there. So yeah, I think that, yeah, Yee says 3 or more sound refereed room. Yeah, indeed, man. Just having a good set of monitors to listen back and hear your mixes. Good. Let me see. Yeah, if anybody else has questions, man, drop your question on here for about 10, 15 more minutes, man. Just sharing some advice. So always get a, do you say, you know, just create what you're dope at and then pitch to those specific opportunities?
Um, it depends on what your, what your wheelhouse is. Like I know guys that like doing, say like tension cues and background cues and that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
versus guys that do like, you know, commercial beats or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, like what was the question? They usually say they want like follow the Billboard Top 100.
Yeah.
If you're making commercial music, just follow the Billboard. If you're doing urban, because the thing is, a lot of music soups are asking for stuff that sounds exactly like whatever's on the radio, but they're not going to want to pay that much, so they want something that sounds like that. Following trends is fairly important. If you're wanting to stay current right now,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's important.
Yeah.
Plus it widens your 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 abilities. Like you're going to be able to do different styles of music. When I first started doing music, I was just R&B hip hop, R&B
Mm-hmm.
hip hop, R&B hip hop. But by
Mm-hmm.
following trends, I started doing EDM, and then when dubstep came in, it was dubstep, and then
Yeah.
Afro or whatever, and this and that. So um, everybody's not going to be able to do these, follow these trends efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say take a stab at it, because I didn't know I could produce EDM until I did it. I
Right.
never thought about it until I follow trends. Like I
Indeed.
said, do everything you can do.
It's music sounding kind of cues, like real
Mhm.
quirky. And I did it, man. Like, I mean, anybody who knows me, like, knows like I'm gonna do something urban with some chords or something, some R&B or gospel or whatever. But
Right.
um, it pushes you outside of that comfort zone, and then you really get a good idea of what you can actually do, once you just try it, sit down, try it. And I just pulled up tracks that sounded like that, and then just tried to replicate, just like I replicate anything else, you know what I mean? But just make it sound like what they're looking for. um
Right.
so yeah, I definitely agree. Dude, if you ever need if you ever need somebody who sounds like The Weeknd, man, let me know, because I did a live music review. Was it last Friday or like the Friday before last, bro? Like, sound just like this dude. The whole vibe from music to vocals, it was like literally The Weeknd.
Taking submissions right now, man. We need indie artists right now. We got some stuff I want to mention. I don't want people to be motivated to hit us up because
Right.
of what I say,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some things that are on the horizon that we're definitely trying to build the team up and get some more indie artists in here. So please
Yeah.
submit.
Dope.
The email is submissions at Smash Coast. Kim just corrected me because it used to be info, but I just changed it. So it's submissions at smashcoast.com where y'all can
Submissions
submit.
at smashcoast.com. Dope. Yeah, I definitely mistyped that earlier. Sorry about that. Somebody gonna be getting that email. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Um, Indie artists in general. I have a hip hop artist. Um, oh, I guess they're asking as far as submissions. Are you looking for just indie artists in general, or like specific genres?
Urban,
Anything urban. Dope.
anything urban from any time period. 90s, 2000s. I'm still getting asked for, like, you have something that sounds like Missy Elliott, or something that sounds like, Busta Rhymes, or something that sounds like, you
Wow.
know, that period music.
That's why
Um,
that's why I love music licensing, man, cuz it's like it it can't really get old, you know what I mean? Like, if you create something in the 2000s, it's gonna come back around, or you're gonna have a film or a TV show that's set in that time period, and now they need a bunch of music from that time period or that era. Um,
Right.
yeah, I love it, man.
Music licensing is dope. It
Yeah.
really is. That's why I stayed in it. It's super transparent. It's straightforward. You get paid for the work you do. You get to build some great relationships. I get to be on great podcasts like this.
Oh man,
It's
I appreciate you coming through.
it's a dope situation. I
I've never,
encourage everybody to at least try it.
yeah, I've never met any one producer, artist, songwriter who got into music licensing, got some placements, and then just like walked away from it. Like they just stay there. Um, and it's listen, man. Like I've been on both sides. I've worked with major artists. I've chased the major placements, worked with the A&Rs, all of that stuff, man. It's it's so much more straightforward. At least in my experience, it's so much more straightforward on the licensing side. They want what they want. You give them what they want. The end. Cut the check.
Right.
There's no politics. You know what I'm saying? It's about the music. Does the music work for the scene? Does it work for the vibe that they're trying to create? On the industry side, it's a lot of extra stuff that you have to kind of filter through and go through before you actually get to the placement. And then when you actually get the placement, it's like a whole nother drawn out process just to get paid for it. So
Right.
I love it, man.
Oh, bad. I don't
Yeah.
hear too many stories of people that get like publishing deals or record deals and then they're happy about it. A couple of years
Right.
later, matter of fact, I've never ever heard anyone say, "Oh, I'm so happy I got this pub deal." When they first get it, yeah, because they got the
Yeah.
check,
Right.
but 12 months later, when that money's gone and they're upside down with that label, then it's all the horror stories,
Yep.
and so that's another reason why I kind of avoided all that. I had opportunities as well to go on to the label side, work with Universal and stuff like that, but it's just too funny, when it's time
Yeah.
to get paid and you got to start looking around and it's just too much. And
I hate
so
it, man. Yeah, it was yeah, bro. Like the album will be out and people listening to it and enjoying it. You still are going back and forth with attorneys and stuff, man. It's just yeah, it's a headache, man. But yeah, the licensing side of things is just it's super dope. Um, and I feel you on the the pub deals, man. Like that's like the first question I ask people, when we're collaborating. It's just like, yo, are you in any tie down to any major deals or like what's the situation? Because I hear a lot of music soups and they don't want to deal with anybody um who has ties with like a major publisher because I hear that like they're just gun ho on the fees and how much they want and they don't want to negotiate and I just heard it's a headache, man.
right, very much.
Yeah.
And it's not in the best interest of the creative at all.
Right.
Labels usually aren't. They're just, about the money. And so that's why
Yep.
I stay on this side of the fence, get to have these great relationships with these creatives.
Yeah. Cause like a major corporation, a major label like Sony, like you can have an opportunity on the table for I don't know a $1,500 sync placement or something, $1,500 up front. They're gonna look at that like it's pennies and be like, "You're crazy, you lost your mind." Before an indie artist who's trying to generate some money with their music, reinvest back into their craft or pay some bills or whatever, like $1,500 is significant. You know what I mean? Like that can go a long way, especially if it's
Man,
doing something that you love. So yeah, man, I think it's a great opportunity for indies. Um, Paradox said, "Could you be in a deal and not know about it?" I hope not.
wow.
You got to sign that joint, right? That's somebody. I don't
What's dude's name? Paul. Wait, who's his name?
Paradox or something. Paradox 7. Is
Paradise.
that
Are
how
you
you say?
talking about like Blueface? Where he was talking about, I don't even know what label I'm signed to.
Oh wow.
You know, yeah, he's got reportedly the worst deal in history, and he didn't even know who he was signed to. He's
Sheesh.
just doing shows or whatever. So I guess, but I can't. I guess that can happen, but I can't imagine too many people being that ignorant, being that blinded by ego and just wanting to be famous to where you just are oblivious to everything,
Right.
just give me some money and let me be famous. Like
Yeah.
if that's the way you are, then you pretty much deserve what you get,
Pretty much.
for real.
The only way I can see that happen is like maybe I don't know, maybe if like you signed to a small label and they had a different deal with a bigger company and then something happened, some buyout or something happened and then another
Right.
company absorbed another company, maybe. But I feel like you should kind of be in the loop on that. Um that's crazy. What makes you feel that way, Paradox? I would get get an attorney involved if that's the deal. That's crazy. Westcliff said, "Are exclusive deals more accepted as opposed to non-exclusive deals?"
Uh, Me and golden rule.
Yeah, it
You
really
know,
isn't. Like I have a combination of both. I have some exclusives and some non-exclusives. Um, this is what I will say though. I don't like the exclusive deals, meaning everything I do has to go through this one single publisher. So now I'm
right.
relying on them to place everything I do, and I can't work with any other companies. Those I've been in those. I don't like those, but I'll do an exclusive deal where say a company wants me to do or whatever tracks I send that company, they'll pitch and publish those or whatever, but I can still go to this other company and do new songs or tracks or whatever with them. um but they just want to be the only ones to represent that particular track or song or something.
Right.
um
Same.
Let me see, million streams. If I'm not mistaken, I think Spotify pays like the least amount in streams. Tidal pays the most. I don't know the specific numbers. um but Spotify is like on the low end as far as like the the amount that they pay per stream.
I know you
They
get one good network sync placement is going to pay you more money than a year of those streams, unless you just had phenomenal streams.
Yeah, that's a fact. Um yeah. I feel like honestly, if I was like an indie artist, I wouldn't even focus on streams. I would let streams be the byproduct of like my TV and film placements. So focus on
I heard that.
sync, get those joints, get those sync checks and royalties rolling. And then if people are discovering your music through those shows, naturally, if people are trying to find out who you are, those streams are gonna go up. You don't even have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Just let it be a little side extra money that just comes as a result of getting the placements.
I think a lot of artists and producers, unfortunately, they underplay their placements.
Mm,
They'll get a TV placements on, a placement on a great show or in a film or whatever, and then
mm-hmm.
they'll post it on their social media like once,
Yep.
and you'll see, I got this placement, and then they're off on something else. When actually that placement is one of your best marketing opportunities.
Facts.
Labels spend the most money on marketing and promotion.
Yep.
And when you want to break it down to just numbers. Okay, so if you get a placement on, we won't even talk about network prime time, because that's going to be like, because we got something. What do we get? Blackish. So there's easily a couple million people watching that show
Mm-hmm.
and hearing your music. So let's just take that for instance. So we'll take a primetime show where you're going to have a viewership from anywhere from like a couple million to 4 million people, whatever, during prime time, whatever. So
Right.
you guys tell us, when are you going to ever have that many people at one time hear a piece of your music?
Exactly.
On the radio. Okay, so wherever you guys are living at in your city, what's the most popular local radio station? Here is Power 106. So if we have a song playing on Power 106 at 5 o'clock on Friday evening, which is going to, most traffic on the freeway, there's only going to be that song, maybe, you
Yeah.
know, but and then it's on the radio. How are you going to promote that?
Exactly.
You can't promote, oh, it's on the radio. There's nothing tangible to even show anybody, but you get some stuff on a TV show or a web ad or whatever, like you got their logo and their network to promote with your name and your brand, and it just gives you weight. Just putting your name, your producer name or your artist name next to that network logo. I got something on CBS, or I got something on this and that, or
Yeah.
this show, whatever. Like it really builds your brand up and and propels you forward as far as your independent marketing is concerned. I think
Yeah.
that when you guys do get these placements, that you should take a lot of time and effort, and it doesn't take a lot of money. I see people doing these Facebook ads where they pay $20 a week or $10 a week or whatever, and then the ads are on Instagram. They spill over to Instagram or whatever, but
Yep.
just something to keep promoting that you're getting these placements, because the placements are significant, man.
They
They
are.
really are a big deal. And just because you got some stuff on, Love and Hip Hop or whatever, and you like that show, and you posted it one time to your family and your homies, and now they all know, you can't take your foot off the gas with that, man. You got to keep on posting and keep on letting people know that you do that. Because, like I said, these music supervisors in these companies are always watching. They're not going to contact you, or say anything, but they're always watching you.
Yep.
And I'm the same way. I'm looking at social media. I'm looking at the people that, if you look at their profile, it says, music producer or artist, but then you scroll through their page and it's just a bunch of selfies and, just a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with their, because you're not putting that work in.
Yeah.
So get these
That's huge,
placements, promote these placements.
man. Cause I was telling somebody, it was just like, yo, I got, I had some placements on, it was it might have been like the Big Ten network or something, right? So, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter because now you have the credit. You have the credit that you can attach to your name, to your brand. Would you rather work with somebody who's worked with nobody, or work with a composer who can say he's produced
Right.
music for the Big Ten network during, sports highlights on a big college football game, right? Like, that is gonna be a lot more appealing than someone who just doesn't have that credibility. And so you have to approach it that way. Like, every placement isn't gonna be like a money move, right? You can use it to help build your brand, help build your credibility, and be taken more serious as a producer. I've used a lot of placements to do that. Like, a lot of them just didn't pay a whole lot on the back end, but I can add those credits, and now they're attached to my brand forever. And you can use that to open up more doors when you're out networking, you're talking to music supervisors, and you're able to prove that you successfully produce music for, a major network or a cable network or a TV show. And it shows that, okay, they at least know kind of what the process is or what to expect. And I feel like they're more likely to give you a chance when you can prove that. So that's a really good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Attaching your name to these brands is a big deal.
So I appreciate you coming
It's
through.
easy.
Yeah, man. We just talking about what we always talk about, man. And so I appreciate your time. And just super excited, man. I'm always motivated to see what you guys are doing. You and Kim, y'all out there crushing it, and it just
Thank you.
fires me up, man, to keep going, keep pushing, and doing great things as well, man. So keep it up. And any last words, man? Anything to encourage the people watching today?
Oh man, encouraging. Well, first of all, thank you for having us on, or having me on, and I'll say
Absolutely.
us because Kim is always with me in spirit.
Hmm.
Um, and I appreciate it. And word of advice is that you know what? I'm gonna go this route with it.
Okay.
We talk about the TV film stuff and that type of stuff, but honestly, there's a lot of creatives out there right now that are going through some personal stuff. There's a
Hmm.
lot of people out there that are going through some stuff that where they might be questioning whether they want to keep doing this or not,
Hmm.
or whether it's the right thing for them, or they might not have the right equipment, or whatever the situation is that you feel like might be a negative. My only advice to you would be to not stop and never give up.
Yeah.
I have one tattoo on my body. I don't know if you can see it. oh, that's ain't working out. But anyway, no, don't. But anyway, I have one tattoo. It says "Never Give Up." That's the only tattoo I have on my body. I'm gonna try to see if I can show y'all real quick. Actually, a couple years after, right after I found out that I had the neuropathy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in a bunch of pain. Doctors didn't know what was up,
Mm-hmm.
and I had one of those days where I woke up and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. I don't think, what am I gonna do? So I went down to Hollywood and I parked the car and I was just walking down Hollywood Boulevard just to, on some random stuff, and I walked by a tattoo shop,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have any tattoos, of course. And I went in there and I told the guy to put "Never Give Up" on my arm. And the reason why I chose that is because I knew that if I tattooed the words "Never Give Up" on myself, that I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't. That it
Wow.
was like a contract to myself.
Yeah.
And so every time I felt like, I was getting weak, I would look down at it and it would just, there was no option to stop.
Yep.
Um, there are many, many times over the years where I felt discouraged and I felt like stopping or diverting. And man, look at me. Look, I'm
Yep.
so glad that I didn't, because it turned out how it turned out.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
now that it's here, I'm looking forward to the future. I'm very excited about what the future brings. So anybody out there that feels like they're going through something to where it's going to keep you from doing this music, you have musical talent for a reason.
Yep.
It wasn't given to you for you not to express it, for you not to do stuff with it. But the thing that I will say in addition is that with your talent, don't chase the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Chase excellence. That means be a good person to work with, be a dependable person, be somebody that likes to learn, somebody that's efficient. Um, these things with your talent will take you where you want to go. But just
Yep.
your talent alone isn't going to get you anywhere,
Facts.
So, but you do have that talent for a reason, because we get a lot of submissions from people that aren't that talented, and but it's funny because in music, a lot of the times you don't really have to be that talented. The hustlers win.
That's
If you're going to
yeah.
get out there and hustle, a lot of people will deal with you just because of your hustle energy. If they know you're going to be the first one in and the last one out,
Yep.
they'll,
You gonna get to work.
that makes up a lot of like not being the dopest person,
Right.
being the illest producer or the dopest rapper or whatever, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So there you go. There, that's my little bit of advice. Be smart, don't give up, and hang in there, because life is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's fire. Thanks again, man. For you guys watching, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And there's also links to Smash Coast music and down in the description, as well as his Instagram handle, so you guys can follow him and pay close attention to what he's doing, because he's doing big things. So again, man, appreciate you. Have a good rest of the
Appreciate
week,
you,
man,
brother,
and
for
we'll be
sure.
in touch.
That's
All
what's
right.
up.
Yep. Peace.
Take it easy, y'all. All right, peace.